Welcome back to another episode of our cruise series. We're glad to have you along. Today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics when it comes to cruising, how to do it and still save a little bit of money. There is no doubt that cruising can be expensive, but there are things you can do to help lower those costs and make it more affordable, and we are going to go through some of our best tips with you today. Our first tip is kind of the basic, is how to find a good fare to start with. When we're looking for a cruise, one of the first places I tend to look is Vacations to Go. Now, there are a lot of search engines out there that you can use, and if you've got your favorite, that's totally fine. We tend to like repositioning cruises, and Vacations to Go is one of the few that has a filter for repositioning cruises. So it's just a really easy place for me to look and kind of see what's going on in the world of cruising and what opportunities there might be there. You can also search by price, so you can kind of look at what are the most affordable cruises out there in that category of cruises that you're looking for, and just start piecing together the clues to see where you might be able to find a good fare. Now, if you've been following our channel, you know we are big fans of Norwegian Cruise Line, and we often will sail with them. So I also will just go directly to the NCL website to check out what's going on, what things that they have on offer. So it's just another place for me to kind of look and see which itineraries I might be most interested in. We've got a video about why we often choose to cruise with Norwegian. I'll put a link to that right up here if you want to check that out. Now, if you were looking for a specific cruise at a specific time of year, you might have more limited options. But if you're like us and a little more flexible with your schedule, it just gives you more options to kind of look around, see what options and itineraries there are for you to choose from so that you can make a good choice for your schedule and at the price point you want to pay. Now, if there is a very specific cruise that you're interested in taking, another option is to start tracking that cruise and see what pricing does over time. So pricing on cruise ships is variable. Prices will go up, prices will go down. Sometimes you can kind of see patterns, and sometimes it's just random. So you have to be ready to jump if you see a price that you like. But if you can start looking early enough, that there are cruises that we want to take that we're not planning on taking this year, but I'll just get a spreadsheet out, and every so often I'll go and search prices and see what those prices are looking like this year. That's no guarantee that the prices will do the same thing next year, but it does start to give you an idea of what that pricing strategy might look like. So there are some cruises we have looked at, some repositioning cruises that we've been tracking on and off very lightly for a year or two, just so we can kind of get an idea. Some cruises are going to be cheaper if you book them very early. This is especially for the newer ships, or if you're looking for ships in populated areas, you know, Caribbean cruises, stuff that tends to be popular. The earlier you book, often you can get a better deal that way. For some other cruises, repositioning cruises especially, although lately the repositioning cruises are selling really well, so it's not quite as common as it used to be, but sometimes you can get really good last minute deals. If you have that flexibility that you can kind of watch a cruise, you know, in the couple of months before they sail, sometimes the prices will go down. Now here I'm going to dig a little bit deeper with you, but if you do buy a cruise early, as long as it is before the final date where you have to pay for everything, generally speaking, that's going to be somewhere around 90 days before your cruise date. And if you see the price of that cruise fall, there are some ways that you can get that price matched. Sometimes if you go right to the cruise line, they will just give it to you because they know you can just cancel your reservation because it's before that final date and rebook it at the cheaper price. So often they will just honor it for you. If you've booked through a travel agent, sometimes that travel agent can just get you some shipboard credit or other kinds of perks to help make up for that difference, maybe an upgrade. There's ways you can kind of play with that. So if you do book really, really early, you're not necessarily tied to that if there is a future reduction in price. But what I'm talking about is sort of that last minute, usually within the last month or two. So that window has already passed. Sometimes the prices will drop even farther because they're trying to convince people to get on that ship last minute, and that's something that we often will look for.
This next one is fairly obvious. You can get a cheaper price depending on the cabin class you select. Of course, if you get a suite or a balcony, you're going to be paying more for that. If you want to pay less and are willing to take an inside cabin, that is a great way to go also. We do love our balcony right now. We are looking out the balcony as we talk to you. We are loving it. But one thing we love about inside cabins is we tend to sleep really well. And when you're on a vacation and you want to relax and you want to sleep, sometimes the darkness of an inside cabin can be perfect. And at the lower price range, it is often our best choice. Another thing is, when we're on a cruise, we don't spend a lot of time in our cabin anyways. We like to get out and be on the ship and be in the dining rooms and in the lounges and enjoying the activities happening on the ship. We're really only in our rooms at night, so it doesn't matter to us often if we have a window or a balcony.
One route to getting some extra little perks while you're traveling on a cruise is by working with a travel agent to book your ticket for you. Now, oftentimes the travel agents are going to see the same prices for cruising that you're going to get on your own. However, the travel agents frequently will have access to different promotions that you can't do on your own that can get you some nice little extra perks. So sometimes they can get you some shipboard credit that can get credited to your account while you're on the ship. Sometimes you can get specialty dining or bottles of wine, just extra little things that can make that overall price of the cruise a little bit less. Now, maybe you already know someone who is a travel agent that you want to work with. Another option, if you don't, is to work with like Vacations to Go. You can book directly through them and they have travel agents there who will work with you. Another option is a website called Cruise Compete, which we have used a couple of times, where you can put in the bid. You say, this is the cruise I'm looking to take, and list all the information about how you want to take that cruise. And then various cruise travel agents will get back to you and say, if you book this cruise through me, I can get you $100 shipboard credit. And someone else will say, if you book this cruise through me, I can get you 3 nights of specialty dining. And they sort of will give you their offers, and then you just get to pick the one that gives you the offer you like the best. Now, if you go this route, you don't get to work with the same travel agent over and over again and kind of build that relationship, but you can kind of get some, be able to shop for those perks that are the most important for you. We have done both ways. Whatever works for you, we always book through a travel agent now.
Norwegian Cruise Line has another way you can save, and that is with a sail away price. I actually think a lot of cruise lines have this, they just may call it something different. The sail away price is where you pay for a cabin class and not for a specific cabin. With most fares, you can pick your specific cabin. You can be anywhere on the ship you want that is available. With the sail away, you cannot pick your specific cabin, which means they can assign you to any room within that class. It may not be in the most desirable location, but you are guaranteed a room in the class that you choose. Now, we have taken this option several times, and we have never been put in a cabin that we've been unhappy with.
No.
Of course, it is possible, but from our experience, it has always been an okay option for us.
Drinks packages are another place you might want to look at. We talk about it a lot. We are not people who drink enough to make the drink packages financially worth it for us, but maybe you are. There's different promotions. Sometimes you can get the drink packages for free. You just have to pay the gratuities, and you just have to decide, how much you're going to want to drink. And this can be alcohol. This might be sodas. It might be coffee. There are different packages, but you want to look at that price of the package compared to the price of what you would pay if you bought, 2 drinks today and you paid full price for those, and 3 drinks tomorrow. You just need to average that out and see if those drink packages are going to cost you money or if they are going to save you money.
Another way to save money is to avoid peak season and holidays. Now, we are not a good example of that right now. We are sailing on a Christmas and New Year's cruise. We are doing this on purpose, and we know we are spending a little bit more for that. They cost a little bit more because more people want to spend time with family on vacation during the holidays. And there's a lot of people on vacation, so these cruises can really fill up. Our cruise is full this time. Another way I mentioned is to go off peak season to save money. For example, if you want to go to Alaska, if you sail midsummer, it's going to be more expensive because that's when everyone wants to go to Alaska. But if you travel at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season, the weather may not be as great, but the prices could be lower.
So I'm going to give you a real insider tip here. This is not something we would recommend to anyone. We are not financial advisors. We are making no recommendations. We haven't even taken part of this ourselves, but something that is available for a lot of cruise lines, if you purchase stock in that cruise line, when you sail with them, they will give you some shipboard credit as a way to say thank you. So on Norwegian, I think you have to buy, maybe it's 100 shares. And when you sail with them, you get $100 shipboard credit every time you sail with them. And so we know people who have done this and who consistently, get that $100 cruise after cruise after cruise. Obviously, this is going to make a difference of how frequently you cruise and how frequently you cruise with that specific line. Different cruise lines might have different programs, although I know there are others. Like I said, we haven't done this, so we're not recommending it. But if you really kind of want to dig into the weeds a little bit more, this might be a program that you want to look into.
Another way to save some money is to not use internet. Imagine going dark. Might be a great way to spend a vacation. It might be difficult for you, but sometimes the internet on a cruise ship can be a bit pricey, and often it's not the most reliable. So that's something you can try.
For some people, a big expense of going on a cruise is going to be paying for excursions once you get into port and want to go out and do some exploring. There are lots of ways to manage your excursions. The safest and easiest way is to book through the cruise ship. Of course, those excursions are going to be the most expensive. Sometimes you can save considerable amounts of money if you book a third-party excursion, but there are some risks that come with that, and it's going to depend on what kind of ports you're in and what activities you want to do if you want to risk that. We have done it on many occasions in many places and have had some really great experiences by just doing it on our own. Another thing, though, is just to not take an excursion at all. Again, this is going to depend on what your ports of call are, but there are many where you can just walk into town and explore the city, or walk off the pier and find a nearby beach. There are sometimes very walkable ports. Some ports are not walkable at all, so it's going to depend on your itinerary, but just know you don't have to take a very expensive excursion in every port you go to unless that's something you want to do and you manage that into the price of your cruise. Another bonus tip that we just thought about is the Cruise Next program. Now, I'm sure other cruise lines call it something different, but on Norwegian, you have the opportunity when you're taking a cruise where you can buy a voucher, sort of like a gift card, that'll apply toward a future cruise that you want to take. So for example, if I bought a $500 voucher of Cruise Next certificates, then they will give me part of that money back in the form of shipboard credit on this cruise. I think if I buy $500, I get $250 back immediately in shipboard credit that I can use on that current cruise. So it's just a nice way where you can really kind of double your money and get some extra credits that will go toward a future cruise. Now, you just have to be prepared that you're going to want to take another cruise with that line. Now, the rules have changed since the pandemic, which is really nice, where these cruise credits don't expire. They used to have an expiration date, but they no longer expire, so you can keep a hold of them for as long as you want. Sometimes there are rules where you can only use one of these vouchers per cruise, but every once in a while, probably if a sailing is not doing particularly well, they'll let you use two on the same cruise. They're also transferable, so if you wanted to give one of these credits to someone else, or if you had a buddy and you wanted to trade them or something, you can do that as well. So it is a fairly flexible program. It's just one of those things you have to be, kind of prepared for. I am going to want to return to this cruise line, and it can be a great way to save a little bit of money. So we are having a great time on this ship. We are shooting a video every single day to share all of our best tips, tricks, and hacks. If you are interested in more cruising content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will put the playlist to all of our videos right over here.
Today